Hey, hello, and welcome back to another wonderful day here at MSA. Glad you could join us. Today we're going to be talking about President Joe Biden. Mr. Biden, got to stretch the truth, Biden. And that's the topic, stretching the truth. You know, over the years, we've all seen a lot of politicians make things a little bit bigger than they need to be, or a little smaller, or just basically come up with a whole bunch of big words to sum together that don't even tell you a real answer to the question they're being asked. Unfortunately, there's too much of this going on with President Joe Biden, and with the latest news about his cognitive ability to recall things, we really need to make sure you see some of this, because the lamestream media have been doing nothing but trying to defend him, trying to make sure that everybody understands, oh my gosh, of course people wouldn't remember certain things, and oh my, this and that. No. It doesn't work over here at MSA. That won't work. So real quick before we get started, we always ask you to like, share, and subscribe. And lately we've noticed that our content's not getting out there, because there's a lot of times you're going to find there's filters. And those filters keep us from being seen by you, because the content that we cover is one that there's other parties out there that don't like it, and they have a lot to do with the big social media outfits and all that. And you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll do a segment on it. Just let us know in the comments. So do us a favor, please, like, share, and subscribe. The one video that we did about how the immigrants are coming over and how they're getting through, and the Chinese and all that stuff, needs to go viral. That is huge stuff. I mean, huge stuff. But anyway, let's get to the Joe Biden part. Now, President Biden, of course, he went through an investigation, and they had a special counsel assigned, and they said, oh yeah, but he was assigned by Trump and all this other kind of stuff. Well, it's kind of funny, because in the other matters, when anybody is assigned by Trump, then they use it to their advantage. And this one, they're trying to say, oh no, this guy's going after Biden for, X, Y, and Z reasons. And reality is, he's going after Biden? He's not. And the reason he's not is because President Biden's memory is getting so bad that they know he can't stand trial. See, and what that means is if you knowingly did something, okay, and you can recall it because you're, under sound mind, then you can be charged for it, ask questions about it, and convicted. When your brain is not functioning properly to where your memory is not working, you don't even really know that you did it. And you're not really responsible for it, because technically you're not in your right mind, okay? Not being disrespectful at all, because I've had a personal family member that has suffered from dementia, and it's not a comfortable thing. It's actually extremely sad. The hardest part for this is our commander-in-chief. This is the guy that represents us to all the other nations, and many nations function well or poorly based on what the United States does. Who's actually running the country is the biggest question. And I mean, that's a seriously huge question. If you caught that interview with Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin, that was one of Putin's things that he was talking about, that the commander-in-chief's not the one running the country, and he knows it. But he won't come out and say it the way it needs to be said, because he's respectful about that. Now, we're going to run a clip in a second here, because we've got Greg Kelly, who's going to bring a couple things to your attention when it comes to what, where all this started, with Joe Biden and the way he conducted himself. So let's go ahead and roll this clip real quick. Just watch it's only a couple minutes long, and then we'll be right back. We'll get back into it. All right. So just hang in there. Be right back.
This is not new. The lies, the deception, the weirdness. This is who this man is. I was in 11th grade when he ran for president the first time. And I couldn't believe it that this guy was ever able to do anything in public again after this.
What law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly, I think
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the International Moot Court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
And the smile at the end. Now, you know by now, everything he just said was a lie. Everything. Literally everything. And back then, our culture, our media, our country wasn't insane like it is today. And this is how people treated liars.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
His memory had failed him.
So, yeah. Okay. Now, I was a young man, just like Greg Kelly was when all of that was going on. And so, being a young man back in those days, we really didn't focus all on that. Politics wasn't a huge thing to a lot of us. We were, busy doing other stuff. But when you look at the reporters that come out, so Joe's standing there and he's grandstanding, and I'm this and that. I graduated, I didn't want to go through law school. And so, I started to bag law school. And then I decided I wanted to go to law school. So I graduated top of my class, got 165 credits, only need 125 to graduate and all this. And I, won the moot course and all that. And you hear the amount of lies that keep coming out. That's what's impressive about that. You hear him just spitting it off the top of his head like this, right at this reporter. Okay? You heard the other reporters in the beginning. If you didn't rewind it, when the reporter starts to ask him the questions about where he went to school and all of this stuff, the other guy says, "Who cares?" in the background is what you hear. Then Biden throws all that at him. Later, when it gets fact checked, you have a lot of big reporters that you just saw in that clip that come out and say that he's lying. And what does Biden use as an excuse at the end? My memory failed me. That's part of what the topic is today. My memory failed me. It didn't sound like your memory failed you back then, Joe. It sounded like you made that up really well and really clearly. And let's get another part out there, because we've talked about this before. The First Lady and Joe started out as a lie to begin with. I don't know if you know that, but they started out as a lie. Joe was married, had a wife, had 3 children, and she was married to a contractor, and they were off doing their thing, and they met, and they were, having a little affair in the background. And then Joe's wife was in a tragic car accident, and she died, along with Joe's daughter, and Beau Biden and Hunter Biden were put into the hospital where Joe Biden was sworn in as a senator. Okay? And then you see Jill now saying, I've always stood behind Joe. Yeah, you stood behind him then. And you stood behind all this then. And you were standing next to him when he told those lies in front of everyone when he was running for president back in the day. His first time he ran for president. And he also used someone else's speech and basically trying to use someone else's life identity to make him sound bigger and better. And he's done it on multiple occasions. He's done Bobby Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, the gentleman out of Europe. And enough is enough. Look at our country, okay? Look at our country. And every time Joe gets up and he starts telling a lie about something, do you think he thinks he's lying? Because recently he's been talking a lot more. And some of the fact checks that are coming out of him, when they fact check it, they're finding out that he's talking about people that he was involved with as a vice president, but he's using it in today's context. It's getting a little spooky. And if you don't know something about dementia people, when they have dementia for a while, then eventually they start having outbursts. Not always, but sometimes. And that could be bad. As the commander-in-chief, you're in charge of our military. You're in charge of a lot of things. And yet, who's running the country? Because if you watch some of the other speeches that Joe Biden's given lately, he starts tripping up over his words. Like the other day when he gave that speech, and he starts, when someone calls him out on his memory, and he comes back and starts talking about his memory. He starts talking about Sisi, the president of Mexico, and all that, who's not the president of Mexico. Did you see any of that? Anyway, we've got a second clip that we're going to roll in here, and it has a lot to do with the documents. Okay, we're going to stay on the document part. We're not going to get into all the rest of the stuff like I've kind of been doing anyway. But we're going to get back into this document thing, this whole document investigation. You know, the paperwork's yay thick. And you're going to hear, we're going to go back to Greg Kelly. And he did a wonderful job explaining some of this. So just hang tight. We'll be right back. Watch this clip. And it's a couple minutes long. We'll see you in a second. All right, hang in there.
What's up, Joe?
I've seen the headlines since the report was released about my willful retention of documents. These assertions are not only misleading, they're just plain wrong. On page 215, if you had a chance, I know it's a thick document. On page 215, the report of the special counsel found the exact opposite. Here's what he wrote. There is, in fact, a shortage of evidence that I willfully retained classified materials related to Afghanistan. On page 12.
He's actually misquoting the report. He's literally misquoting it. And by the way, he's talking about 2 pages. He just misquoted the first line. I'll have specifics in a moment. 2 pages. This is how big the report is. It's hundreds of pages long. This is deception. And now you're going to see some outright lies.
Page 12, the special counsel also wrote for another documents. The decision to decline criminal charges was straightforward. The evidence suggests that Mr. Biden did not willfully retain these documents.
All right, let's go. On page 1, it says, our investigation uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. In black and white, on page 1. He has no respect for us. He's counting on Americans not reading this report. He's counting on the fake news actually continuing to be fake news, and they are. And conservative media, they're just a bunch of crazy wackos, right? They're just MAGA extremists. Don't listen to them. This man is lying again to our faces.
All right, you got to see the clip. Now, let's talk about this for a second here, okay? Because this is starting to wear me a little thin. First off, you go into this thing with Biden talking about, if you look on this page, you look on that page. Greg Kelly shows you it's on page 1. Put the text up on the screen. Willfully knew he was retaining these documents. Where does that not show? Where you're going to tell me, Joe, that you read all the way to page 212 or 250, whatever it was you were talking about? I see you got me so heated. I didn't even understand any of this anymore. Okay. Then, you know what? I didn't keep playing this clip. Okay. But the clip starts going on where the reporters ask him, Joe, you know, what about, did you take these documents, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, or do you feel bad about taking these documents? Sorry. And they say, oh no, I feel because my staff did it. Your staff didn't do it. Newsmax uncovered the actual invoice that came from the moving company. And it shows on the invoice that you requested that you got your family and you move your own contents. There was CIA people or Secret Service people and all that showed, they even told her that they witnessed you loading boxes into the truck. Yourself, Mr. Biden, not your staff. Again, a lie. This is what this lamestream media covering up for all of this. This isn't freedom of the press anymore, okay? This is, how do we cover our butt? Oh, that's right. We have multi-millionaire people that are making sure that our news channels stay afloat because we're losing all of our ratings because we keep lying about everything, and all we can talk about is how bad Donald Trump is, how bad, oh my gosh, MAGA people are so horrible, they're the worst thing ever, and all that. Of course, you know, crime running rampant in the streets, the border being wide open, all these things, that's even better. But I won't even keep going on about that. Let's keep going on about Joe Biden. So as you get into all of this, okay, one of the things that comes out, if you were able to, if you just go to Newsmax and find this whole clip with Greg Kelly and watch the whole thing in its entirety, is that all this takes place on January 7th, 2017, about the documents, taking the documents. Mind you, to that point, he'd only been a vice president, prior senator. Okay, remember all that? Now that we're here, okay, moving company, trucks loaded, they leave, the Naval Observatory. Now, the Naval Observatory is where the vice president lives because it's easier for the security to be able to monitor him or her while they're in office. So they live at the Naval Observatory. So when they were leaving, they're packing up all these documents. So when they get to the Delaware home where the vet lives, mind you, that's not an EV, by the way, Mr. Biden, where are you going to get your fossil fuel to drive around your Corvette? Or do you even... Anyway, willfully taking these documents, you're lying to the American public. You're lying about the procedure of it. You're lying about it. All of it. It's a lie. It continues to be lie after lie after lie. Why are you doing this? Why is the media covering for you constantly? And let me explain something really quick here, okay? Because maybe you, the viewer, can help me understand how this is all going to play out. Because you're going to tell me the vice president doesn't know his memory's failing? Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense? You're going to tell me that the Secretary of Homeland Security, all of them don't know that his memory's failing? Really? I mean, is this like the largest conspiracy to date? That we're going to cover it all up? I mean, you're trying to repeat what they thought was going on with Reagan? Where, who's running the country? That's the biggest question. Because right now, with our commander-in-chief in the current state that he is in, and that's not a joke, we've all seen other news things where he gets things wrong or he can't complete a sentence and all that stuff. And it's not because he's confused. He can't. He cannot. Without being all juiced up with whatever they got him on. I hate to say it that way, but they've got him juiced up on something. We're currently, as a country, on a thread, on a thin thread. And that's not to spook anybody, okay? But Joe Biden's driving the bus that we're all riding on. And is it heading over a cliff? Is it going into a wall? Is it going to keep going down the road? Nobody knows. This guy's in charge of our military. He's in charge of so much stuff. Foreign relations. I mean, what in the actual are anybody in this country thinking that I've read so much stuff where people are just, oh my gosh, these Republicans are horrible, the way they go after Biden and his memory and can't remember when his son passed away and all that. And I know, I get it. I just don't get it anymore. Okay? What are you covering up for? And now what? We're going to get Harris? Is she going to come in? Because I remember when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden went toe-to-toe with each other because of his segregation stuff that he supported. And she talks about being that little girl that helped get hit with some of that stuff. So I don't know how they got paired up other than the fact that they know that with Harris as vice president, there's no way you're going to take Joe away from the steering wheel. Because with Harris as a president, that is not what we want in the record books to be our first female president. I can tell you right now. No way, no. That's my opinion. But I'm just telling you, this is craziness. Absolute craziness. And we need to do something to help. Okay? Reach out. I mean, you've heard me say this before. Reach out to the senator. If you don't feel comfortable reaching out to your congressman or your senator, reach out to one of the other ones. Reach out to Matt Gaetz, Ted Cruz, John Kennedy. Reach out, whoever. Reach out to somebody. Let them know of your concerns. So this stuff doesn't get buried, because it keeps getting buried more and more every day. And it's too much anymore. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. Not the, well, we'll get by for now, and hopefully things will get better in the future. Or if you're the elite, like, oh, wow, we're making so much money, it's just ridiculous. Just keep letting this thing roll like this. And why? Because there's a lot of people somewhere behind the scenes that know exactly what's going on, and they are profiting from it heavily. That's, again, my opinion. But I'm telling you, it's getting more and more evident every day. So, as I asked in the beginning, please like, share, and subscribe. Please share. We need some help growing this channel. I hope you'll help us out. So, either way, love you. Hope you're having the best day, night, or whatever it is, wherever you're at. And we'll come back with more content to catch up with whatever's going on at the time. You take care, and we'll see you soon.